Welcome back to the AI Compass. It's November 27th, 2024, and we've got a whole new stack of AI news to dive into. This deep dive is really about understanding where AI is going, from the business side to the actual tech. But before we get into all that, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. I'm excited to be back. It's amazing to see how much the AI landscape is shifting even week to week. There are constantly major players making big moves and all these new trends popping up that really reshape the whole industry.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. We'll break it down into three sections like we usually do. Business, product, and technology. Our first article actually dives right into the heart of the business of AI. It's about this battle of the tech titans. So typically how Google is using its dominance in search.
Right. And what's interesting here is that Google isn't just building AI. They're really weaving AI directly into their search results. Have you seen these AI overviews? It's kind of brilliant. They're capitalizing on this massive user base.
Right.
Billions of people who are already using Google for just about everything.
Yeah, they're just so ingrained in everything we do.
Exactly. It's a smart strategy, but it's definitely not without its challenges.
Right. And that's where the Department of Justice comes in. They're looking to break up Google's monopoly, or at least what they perceive as a monopoly. And that could have huge GE consequences for all the tech giants, how they approach AI integration. It makes you wonder if this could actually level the playing field for AI development.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Imagine a world where smaller companies have easier access to tools like Google's search index. That could lead to a surge in innovation and way more players in the AI arena.
Yeah, it's almost like opening the floodgates to AI development. Speaking of big moves, our next article is about billionaire investor Stephen Cohen.
Yeah.
And his pretty significant investment in TSMC.
Ah, yes.
What do you think the strategic thinking is behind that? What does it tell us about where AI hardware is headed?
Well, he's definitely betting big on the fact that semiconductors are going to be crucial for the AI revolution. TSMC manufactures the chips that power companies like NVIDIA, AMD, Qualcomm, all the big players.
Yeah, those are the giants.
By doubling down on his investment, Cohen's basically saying he thinks demand for those chips is just going to explode.
So he's essentially investing in the foundation of the whole AI industry.
Precisely. But it also brings up some of the risks that are tied to the AI supply chain. TSMC is based in Taiwan, which adds a whole other layer of uncertainty because of geopolitics.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Any disruptions there could have a ripple effect through the entire industry.
Yeah, it seems like with every opportunity in AI, there's always a challenge that comes with it. Our next article kind of brings us back down to earth a little bit. It's looking at Dell's recent earnings report, and they're facing some of those same pressures that other companies are in this changing landscape.
Yeah, Dell's earnings are a good example of how AI is creating winners and losers. On one hand, their AI-related server sales are booming, but on the other hand, their PC market is struggling.
Wow, so it's two sides of the same coin.
It really shows how companies need to adapt quickly or they'll get left behind.
It's like the classic example of disruption.
Right, the companies that can harness AI are going to thrive, and the ones that are holding on to old ways of doing things are going to struggle.
Speaking of adapting and innovating, this next story is about a group of former Google and Stripe executives. They're raising capital for a new venture.
This is a perfect example of how entrepreneurs are always looking for the gaps and finding ways to fill them. They've raised $56 million for their startup called Devagence, and their goal is pretty ambitious. They want to create what they're calling an Android for AI agents.
So they're basically trying to create a common platform where different AI agents can talk to each other and work together, regardless of the device or the operating system.
Yeah, that's the idea. Think about how revolutionary the App Store was. It changed the way we use our smartphones.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This could be a similar thing for AI.
Totally. It's a bold vision for sure. It'll be interesting to see what happens with it. Our last article in this business section takes us to the perspective of Nandan Nilekani. He's the co-founder of Infosys, and he has some interesting thoughts about the future of AI model development.
Nilekani believes that we're going to start seeing a shift away from those huge, all-encompassing AI models. He thinks it's going to move towards these smaller, more specialized models. He calls them small language models, or SLMs.
It seems counterintuitive, though, right? Why would companies choose smaller models when these really powerful large-scale models already exist?
Well, Nilekani argues that it comes down to cost and customization. Those giant models are incredibly expensive to develop and maintain. Plus, a lot of companies need AI solutions that are specifically tailored to their needs. not just some one-size-fits-all model.
So it's like instead of relying on a generalist, they might start building their own specialized AI teams, each with their own expertise. It sounds like we're moving toward a more distributed and nuanced AI landscape.
You got it. This focus on specialization could mean that AI adoption becomes accessible to a much wider range of businesses, and they could start using AI in ways that we haven't even thought of yet.
It's so fascinating to see how much the AI landscape is changing. But before we move on to the world of AI products, I want to remind everyone that if you're thinking about how to use AI in your own business, Shellbook AI Technology Consulting can help you. They're the experts at making AI work for your specific needs.
Now let's shift gears a little. Let's talk about some of the cutting-edge AI products that are changing the game in different industries.
Okay, let's dive into the product landscape.
Okay, so our first article in the product section asks a pretty big question: is AI hitting a wall?
That's a bold statement. What are the experts saying?
It's interesting. There's actually a debate going on among researchers about whether the progress we've seen in AI is slowing down. Some think we're reaching the limits of what current AI systems can do, while others think we're just scratching the surface.
So is this like a sign that the AI hype is dying down, or is it just part of the technology maturing?
It's probably a bit of both, to be honest. The key takeaway here is that we need to think outside the box. We need to get creative if we want to push AI to that next level.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it could mean exploring different types of data, like using sensory input beyond just text, or maybe even developing new AI architectures that can reason and solve problems better.
So instead of just feeding AI more and more data, we need to make it smarter and more adaptable.
Exactly. We need AI that can actually understand the world, not just process information in a vacuum. And speaking of data, our next article highlights something that could be huge for AI development: private data.
Oh, wow, private data. That's a sensitive topic. How can we use that responsibly and ethically?
Yeah, it's a tricky balance, but the potential benefits are enormous. Imagine the kind of insights we could get in healthcare, finance, all sorts of fields, if we could analyze this data in a responsible way.
It's like a goldmine of information, but we need to figure out how to access it without compromising privacy.
Right, and that's the challenge: finding secure and ethical frameworks for using private data to actually make AI better. Now let's move on to a company that's using AI to really shake things up in the creative world spines.
I love seeing how AI is changing creativity. What are they doing that's so different?
They're basically streamlining the whole book publishing process with AI. Editing, cover, design, distribution, marketing, you name it. Their platform makes it so much easier and cheaper for authors to get their work out there.
So AI is actually helping authors and making publishing more accessible.
Exactly. It's not replacing human creativity, it's making it easier for people to be creative. And this brings us back to those smaller, specialized AI models we talked about earlier, the SLMs.
Right, the idea that companies could build their own AI task forces instead of using those giant models.
We're already seeing them used in lots of different areas, like financial fraud detection or personalized medical diagnoses. These smaller models can be fine-tuned to do very specific tasks, which makes them more efficient and cheaper for businesses.
It sounds like a much more focused approach to AI finding solutions to specific problems.
Exactly. And that kind of specialization could open up so many more possibilities for using AI in different industries.
It's really interesting how AI is moving away from those huge models and towards a more diverse ecosystem of specialized agents. But now let's shift gears again and talk about the technology that's driving all these advancements. This next article dives into a really important question. How do we know if an AI model is actually good?
That's where AI benchmarks come in. They're basically tests that we use to see how well AI models perform. The problem is a lot of the benchmarks we use are outdated or flawed, and that leads to inaccurate assessments and even safety concerns.
It's like we're using the wrong tools to measure AI, and that could be really dangerous.
Exactly. If we're relying on bad benchmarks, we might be approving AI models that aren't ready. And that could have serious consequences, especially when AI starts being used in things like healthcare or transportation.
So what can we do about it? How do we make sure we're using the right benchmarks to evaluate AI?
We need to create new benchmarks that are more thorough and aligned with real-world applications. And that's going to take collaboration between AI experts, ethicists, and specialists in different fields.
It's a big job, but it's crucial if we want to build trust in AI and make sure it's developed responsibly.
Okay, so let's move on to some good news. Stability AI, the company behind Stable Diffusion, just released some awesome new features for their image generator.
Oh yeah, this is exciting news for anyone who works with AI images. They've added new control nets for blur, canny, edge detection, and depth information. These tools give people way more control over how their AI images look.
So you can actually guide the AI's creativity instead of just letting it do its own thing.
Exactly. You can use these control nets to control the detail, the style, even the perspective of your images. It's a huge step forward for creative control and artistic expression in AI art.
It's like AI is becoming more of a partner in the creative process rather than just a tool. I think so. And this idea of partnership brings us to another interesting development. There's a new collaboration happening between AI and CRISPR, the gene editing technology.
That's a powerful combination. CRISPR is already revolutionizing genetics. What happens when you add AI?
AI is being used to make CRISPR gene editing more precise and efficient. By analyzing huge data sets, AI can actually predict the outcomes of gene edits. This makes the process faster, more accurate, and potentially safer.
It's like giving CRISPR a super smart assistant.
Pretty much the applications are mind-blowing. Imagine treating genetic diseases, developing climate-resistant crops, or even reversing aging.
It sounds like the stuff of science fiction.
I know, right? But with this kind of power comes responsibility. We need to be very careful about the ethical implications of using AI with gene editing.
It's a delicate balance, but the potential benefits are so huge that we can't ignore it. Our last article in this section brings us back to the idea of collaboration. It seems like this year's Nobel Prize has really highlighted the importance of breaking down barriers between different scientific fields.
That's right. The prizes in physics, chemistry, and medicine all showed how connected these fields are, and they highlighted the growing role of AI in scientific discoveries. It's a clear sign that the future of AI depends on collaboration and knowledge sharing across different disciplines.
So instead of working in isolation, scientists from different fields need to work together to tackle these big challenges and opportunities that AI presents.
Absolutely. Imagine what could happen if AI experts worked with climate scientists or medical researchers.
Yeah, it's like putting together this dream team of brilliant minds from all these different areas to really unlock the full potential of AI. It's incredible to think about what we could achieve if we all work together like that.
I agree. The future of AI isn't just about the technology itself. It's also about building a community where collaboration and sharing knowledge are the norm.
Well said. This has been a whirlwind tour of the AI world. We've covered so much from business strategies and new products to the technology behind it all and the ethics we need to consider.
It really has what stood out to you the most from all these articles.
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is that AI is evolving so fast. It's changing every aspect of our lives, whether we realize it or not. From how we search for information to how we treat diseases, AI is everywhere.
Definitely. And it's more important than ever to stay informed and really think about the implications of all this. We need to work together to make sure AI is used for the right reasons.
Absolutely. And for our viewers who are thinking about using AI in their businesses, I highly recommend checking out Shellbook AI Technology Consulting. They're the experts at making AI work for your specific needs.
Great advice. And as always, we encourage everyone to keep learning and exploring the world of AI. There's always something new to discover.
Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the world of AI. Until next time, stay curious.